Yo, what's up? I'm Ian255 and you're watching our video, and today it is, at long last, the third and final part of the UEFA coefficient trilogy. Today basically I'm going to be explaining how other nations could affect where Scotland finish up at the end of this season on this coefficient table, where currently we sit pretty high up in 16th. That's actually the highest we've been, I think, since like 2011-12. That's really something. So we're going to do this in two sections, and the section we're going to start off with is Greece, Croatia and Serbia, all teams who are below Scotland right now, but all have teams still remaining in the Champions League. Because, as you will know if you watched the first video, getting through to the Champions League last 16 gives a coefficient boost. So if any of those nations were to have their team get through to the Champions League last 16, it would result in them overtaking Scotland most likely. So we're going to look at each of their group circumstances and see how likely progression is, starting with Greece and Serbia, who I'm doing together because their representatives, Olympiacos and Crvena, however you pronounce that team in third, they are both in the same group and therefore affect each other when it comes to which one will progress. They're also rooted to the bottom of the group. You can see they have one win between them, and that is in fact the Serbians over the Greeks there in Belgrade. So yeah, the odds of them progressing, either of them progressing to the Champions League last 16, thankfully for Scotland, are very limited. However, at least one of them is guaranteed progression to the Europa League round of 32, where they could get points by winning their matches and potentially going on a European run. I'm not sure exactly how likely a European run would be, and it would actually be kind of funny if Celtic or Rangers, if they qualified for the round 32, got one of these teams in that stage. That'd be quite funny to see. But yeah, overall, I'd say the risk of these two nations overtaking Scotland, not terribly likely. Right, next up we will be talking about Croatia. And Dinamo Zagreb are actually in a decent position. They're equal on points with Shakhtar Donetsk, who are second in Group C of the Champions League. And they actually played their head-to-heads on matchday 3, matchday 4 against each other. As you can see, they were both draws. Shakhtar Donetsk holding the away goals scored advantage with their 3 goals compared to Dinamo Zagreb only managing 2 a fortnight before. But overall, you'd definitely say Dinamo Zagreb do have a chance of qualifying for the Champions League last 16. Both teams have to play Manchester City, top flying, and Atalanta, pretty mince. So it really could go either way, with Dinamo Zagreb being either in the Champions League last 16, which would most likely put Croatia above Scotland again in coefficient terms, or round of 32, where Dinamo Zagreb could theoretically go on a wee European run into the new year. So that is a real threat for Scotland's standings. And with that, we've finished off the teams who are below Scotland. Now we're going to talk about two teams who are above Scotland but also have no Champions League participants. These are teams Scotland could theoretically catch: Cyprus and Denmark. Denmark are way out there. They're probably not likely to be caught, but if we look at Cyprus, they are only an 1/8 of a point ahead of Scotland. And their situation gets especially tantalising for us when we consider the groups and see that Apoel, who are Cyprus's representatives in the Europa League, are not actually doing all that brilliantly. You can see they're 1 win, 1 draw and 2 losses from the group so far. Being caught obviously with high-flying Sevilla, who are top of the group, untouchable basically. They still have a fairly good chance of qualifying for round 32 of the Europa League, but it is really still a 3-horse race between them, Karabag and Dudelang. So yeah, it could potentially be that Apoel don't even make round of 32, which would really help Scotland out. But even if so, I'd say Cyprus is an achievable target to attempt to overtake for Scotland this year. And finally, for completeness sake, let's look at Denmark for Copenhagen are top of the group, although you'll notice that Dynamo Kiev are also on 6 points and Malmo are 1 point behind on 5th. Now, you might think that makes it a slightly weak situation for Copenhagen, but I think they're in pretty strong hands, and here's why. They played their double-header the last 2 matches against Dynamo Kiev and drew both in Kiev and in Copenhagen, which means they have their last 2 matches against Malmo and Lugano, and have beat Lugano and Copenhagen, and have drawn with Malmo in Malmo. So I would say they're probably going to qualify for the Europa League round 32, and that would probably keep Denmark ahead of Scotland in coefficient terms this year.